Yeah.
Hello, John.
Water.
And so today we're going to talk about cremation or burial. Does it affect your eternal destiny? At the end of the video, we're going to be speaking about a very unusual practice as well called sky burial practices by Tibetan monks. If anybody wants to like, subscribe, or share, or maybe contribute to the comments, are welcome. But the first one we're going to look at is the one closest to us, which is Christianity. So we're going to eternal destiny depends on faith in Christ and God's grace, not on burial or cremation. Islam burial is mandatory, cremation strictly forbidden. Hinduism cremation is standard, releasing the soul for its next stage of reincarnation. So there's a few there that we can look at and talk about the eternal destination. So particularly with Christianity.
The Catholic faith, the first thing about that is that you have to lead the burial is a feature that happens after you die. But the fact of the matter is that it depends on the life that you lead. If you lead a good, decent life, and being a Catholic, practice your Catholic faith by going to Mass every week on a Sunday or the Vigil Mass on a Saturday, and going to confession once a month and saying your morning and evening prayers, and also the Holy Rosary, the Chaplet of Mercy, Station of the Cross. These are the things, and living a chaste life, irrespective of what your marital situation is. Respect is the fundamental basis for a Catholic to respect all those he comes across as, and treat them fair and square. And Jesus said, "Love your enemies," and do good to them that hate you. So these are high standards in some ways, and we try to follow them as best we can. And
That's it.
but the sacrament of confession is the most important thing vis-a-vis the burial. Now, when a person dies in the Catholic faith, the majority of people are buried in a grave with a coffin. It's Pope Leo XIV has indicated that cremation should be a very rare occurrence. It's allowed since the 1960s sometime, and but it depends on the situation and of the particular person that wants to be cremated. I It was never a feature in my lifetime except in kind of that period, and I wouldn't choose it, the cremation. So with the burial, and you're buried in a graveyard, a consecrated graveyard, and you have a requiem mass. You have a mass for your repose of your soul, which is very important in the Catholic faith. That there's a mass, and then the priest blesses the person that's been buried, and it says prayers at the grave, and people, relations and friends that would have known the deceased, male or female, they would be at the grave, and then they might meet for a bite to eat or something like that, and have a bit of a chat and all the rest of it, because life goes on with the people that's still alive. And
Yeah, I
no matter how famous you are, you're forgotten about in due course. So that's the Catholic faith.
yeah. So I just want to go back there to Catholic faith and Christianity. Okay. So as I said, eternal destiny depends on faith in Christ and God's grace, not on a burial or cremation. Burial expresses hope and resurrection. Cremation is permitted in the Catholic Church since about 1963. It wasn't always permitted. It's not allowed in the Eastern Orthodox Church. Um, but it's also about God's power to raise the dead is not limited to the body's condition in Christianity.
Well, that's kind of. I like to keep it kind of simple. That's the way I indicated that your life, the way you live, depends on
Your
on
eternal
where you're going to
destination.
go.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. And the burial is just a feature of that, and but it doesn't determine anything other than the burial. Your soul is a separate matter altogether from your body, and your soul, if you've lived the life that you should live, if you're a Catholic, to save your immortal soul, your soul, you're judged as soon as you die, and where your destination is going to be. But if you lived a decent life and respect for everybody that you come across, well, then you have a good chance of going to heaven or even purgatory, which we recognize in the Catholic faith, which is a place so that you can be cleansed for any defects that you might have had, and then up to heaven for to be happy ever after.
That's it. So we'll finish up anyway with what's known as a sky burial. It's a traditional Tibetan Buddhist funerary practice where a human corpse is placed on a mountaintop to be consumed by vultures and other birds of prey. There's a good reason behind this, okay, and why not a burial or a cremation in this case? It's in Tibet's high mountains, the ground is rocky and hard to dig, and wood for cremation is scarce. Sky burial developed as a practical spiritual solution. It avoids polluting the natural elements, the earth, the water, the fire, and aligns with Buddhist respect for all life. It seems a bit gruesome, but it
It
is
is
something
gruesome,
that happens.
and it's a long when one is looking up these matters in the internet, it's a long-winded sort of an affair, and yapping about pollution
Sure.
and climate and all the rest of it, which is completely immaterial. God
Yeah.
made the world, and God will finish the world. That's the Catholic view. And skydiving or being buried from the sky or whatever any other way, or
Yes,
burned as some of them do. I think Hindus. So, like
Buddhism.
the burial is only feature of it's the end of your life. As the way you lived your life will determine where you go and how you respected people and all the rest of it. There's a lot of factors that the video that descriptions of burials and religions. It's all about burials, but there's nothing about the way the person might have lived their life.
Yeah, well, the focus really of the video was to see though how people, perceive death and burial and what happens and why it happens. It wasn't really about the
Yeah,
life of the
well,
person. But the thing about it is, I don't like cremations. I don't go to cremations because I don't like them. And the thing is, I spoke to a priest one day, and many many years ago, and I asked him what did he think. We were in the graveyard, and he said, "Well, Oliver, the thing about a burial is." You know, there's a presence. It always feels as if there's a presence in the graveyard. With cremation, you don't get that, so it brings better closure, I think, a body said, if the body's buried.
correct. It's very difficult to understand if you're cremated how you're going to be reunited with your body, which is the Catholic view of things.
Yeah.
But be that as it may, all things are possible with God and with what can happen. But the business of, to be buried in the traditional way in the Catholic faith, for example, is the only one that I know, and others, the Orthodox is aligned to the Catholic faith, but they just don't allow cremation, and it speaks very well of them. They have continued the practice of the Orthodox faith without changing it as the way the Catholic faith was changed in the Vatican II. And what was implemented was not actually in Vatican II. It went a different road altogether, and quite a road that didn't lead to whatever they expected for it to lead to expand the Catholic faith. It had the dead opposite. A lot of people have fallen away, and their souls in grave danger. So the people that misrepresented what was in the Vatican II, it held on to the Mass celebrated in the universal language of Latin, so that you could converse in Latin. I did Latin in secondary school, and I got honours in it, and so I was, I was pretty good at it, and was regarded as the universal language of the Catholic faith. Now, I hear it mentioned in videos in the United States, but for some reason or other, they seem unable to focus. They talk about the Latin Mass and this, but they never use the expression the universal language of the Catholic faith. And I am surprised at their ignorance. I put it that way.
Hmm.
It meant that you could get mass in any part of the world when it was in the universal language of Latin. They they narrow it in the United States as sort of like, and they don't talk about the universality of it, and the fact that the sacrament of confession was preached and availed of on missions in every church once a year. So they did made a lot of mistakes, and now there's no missions. I'm here in this town where I happen to live for 23 years, and there was only one mission, and it was lay people, lay missioners. It wasn't usual what we used to get, the various missionary priests. So that's one example. The Orthodox, I'm not sure what way they operate in that area, but you can't change things too much. Tradition is very important,
Hmm.
and the Catholic faith went astray, I think, in what what the road that they took. So, but leading a good life, attending mass, and go and living a chaste life and respecting all that you come across. I think that's the basis for what I call a happy death.
Very,
So
very good. Very good.
and it doesn't matter what age you are. But the older you get, the nearer you are to that destination, as I am. So I have to be very careful to make sure that
Because
I do the best I can
and
and try to avoid trouble, so on and so forth.
very good, John Malone. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Oliver.